Oh, you already had recording, weren't you?
Yeah, that's that we were recording.
Oh, did you make that issue? Yeah.
So
Okay,
that's the background.
got it.
And again, all the application, all the materials. So you can see everything that's.
Okay. Are you the applicant?
Yeah, I'm Ryan Thompson, I'm the engineer, I'm a surveyor working with samples. This is the, I brought this, if anybody wants to look at it, but she summarized it pretty well. And the only thing I would say is that you said to the other side of the property, currently the pergola is here, it's gonna essentially go right behind the house is what I'd like to move it to. So that it would be, there'd be no, for zoning reasons, really, because the house is already, it's a non-conforming lot and setbacks, there is no way you could be within some setbacks, it overlaps, and setbacks overlap from left to right. So in order to try to minimize that impact, you're gonna put it directly behind the house, which is already non-conforming. But, this is the main issue right here, it's 2.8 feet from the wetland boundary, so that is obviously concerned. However, it's gonna be on blocks.
Yep.
And look at that, it's not gonna be the.
Are you gonna accuse?
What?
Are you gonna accuse?
I'll make the decision.
Huh?
I'll make the decision. I'm not making the decision. I can still ask questions.
Okay, so the way we'll just work is we'll come out to the site on the 22nd and 30. You just kind of have to show us kind of where it's going to go, either you or the homeowners, maybe both of us. Since it's really not a public meeting, although it's open to the public, we really don't ask any questions. We just ask, okay, where's it going to go? See the plan, and then at our next monthly meeting, that's when we'll kind of ask questions. Be able to make another motion on the application. Okay. So can I get a motion to accept this application, set a site walk for the 22nd at 10:30 with the rain date of the 1st at 10:30? Do I have a second?
Okay, who moved?
Robert?
Okay, you have to speak a little bit louder
Yep.
for me. Bob moved,
Thomas seconds. Any discussion?
and the sidewalk time was
10:30.
a second was,
So.
Oh.
Over. Two.
Okay,
Okay.
so you won't be attending the site
I will
walk?
not attend the sidewalk this was week. Oh, sure. Okay. So I will not at the sidewalk, use myself and all over the activity.
You'll just need to repeat that before that application comes up.
Okay, so
So then I guess I wouldn't vote on this motion.
No, I'm not voting on, that's what I
this is
said.
part of the discussion.
Yep, right. All those voting in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed or abstain? Yes, Eddie's just not voting. All right.
He's
Carries.
abstaining, yeah.
All right, thank you. We'll see you on the 22nd, 10:00, 10:30. All right, on to item agenda number 4. This is IWC 24-7, 9 Van Dyke Lane. Office Stevens PE is the applicant. Robert Anderson is the owner. For activity within 50 feet of the inland wetlands or watercourse for a new 3-bedroom residence and purpose structures. Proposed reserve for sanitary septic system and rain garden and wetlands.
Whoop. Oh,
I'm on 4.
4, okay. I wanted to make sure.
Assessors map 4, block 1, lot D-9 in the zone R80. And this is for consideration of a request of waiver for significant activity fee in the amount of $200.
So this is in 2 parts tonight. The first part is the waiver request. The second part is for the public hearing. So I know the, agent would like to ask for a request. The only thing I will say is services have been rendered in significant activity because we've already been doing a lot of work.
Okay.
It's
And it's also, also
I
published.
guess Mr. Mandel, you want to, explain the request for waiver? of the
Sure, Chuck
application?
Mandel, agent, the owner. So the commission had requested a third-party review, which was $2,500 additional. They also requested the wetlands to be reflagged, reevaluated, which they had previously been evaluated. That's another $1,500 from Bob Russo. I do have a letter from him stating how we did that. Time was very limited on this, to get this done. The ground was frozen. CLA has investigated the site. Just the bottom line is, we didn't need the jackhammer to get through, so we didn't take his borings. It was just the expense just keeps adding up. And Mr. Anderson did hire an attorney for some advice. So I just think the fees are excessive right now. You already have the town engineer. We paid him $2,500. So I believe that we requested the $200 on payments.
Questions? I mean,
Yeah, I was reading, about the burning, that Kathy brought up.
well, let's just talk about the fee first.
Oh, the
So
fee,
the
okay.
the burning.
You said anything else?
Sorry, no. Let's just talk fee here. Anything on application, we'll talk under the public hearing.
Okay.
So I guess recommendation of,
The services have been rendered. I mean, we've been working on a significant activity piece ever since the commission made the determination. We advertised it, we, put it through its paces, making sure everything that was required. Has been, submitted.
what is that $200 application fee go towards?
Well, staff time mostly, I mean, that's our application fees. We take them all in whenever there's an application and submission fee. The $60 goes to state, which we just hold it and pass it on. And if there's a significant activity, there's a whole separate section of requirements. So that's why it's in there. It's for the review process and all the work we do.
And it has to be advertised in the newspaper
Yeah, we have.
twice before the,
Yeah. So that. pays
So
for
the
that.
town has accrued fees for this application. Do we think that we should? I mean,
Well,
I haven't.
I'll be honest with you, I
My
mean,
ears there.
we pay, we gotta cover, I mean, we're not here making money, we gotta cover the advertising, posting, everything, it's only $200. I mean, so I don't think we should waive it, but the town engineer got about 2,500.
They did a
Get a
lot.
third party review.
Yeah.
Third party, who did the second one?
So the way this went was, we had Chuck Mandel, Chuck Eaton, but that's normal course when there's a significant activity, and this was a very complex application, so we needed to engineer review. And what he does is every application he looks at, he gives us an estimate for what he thinks his fee will be based on the complexity of the project. So that has nothing to do with the application review. That's just for staff time, for all we do as part of the significant activity.
Okay,
It was a half a page, so, you know, he had 3 comments on this.
Yeah, but that's not what this is, the fee for significant activity is for staff, it's not for the town engineer, that's a separate fee. So it includes, you know, we have to advertise, it, you know, because people have a public.
you gotta pay for our.
To admit, and then there's all staff
Check.
time.
Uh,
Sure,
I
you
am,
admit him.
my client has asked for.
You're doing
I
your
am
job.
I checked with me right now, so it's not, so it's the application's not incomplete, and commission check right now, $200. It wasn't the $200, it's just the.
I don't know if it's right to be setting precedents of waiving application fees, because then everybody's gonna come in and ask to waive an application. So,
I'm sorry.
Let me get the check.
So I guess we'll need to make an action on this, so I'll need a motion
That's
to,
EWARD.
right, I'll need a motion to deny the request.
I make a motion.
Who made them?
No second.
Any discussion? Those voting in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed or abstaining? Okay. So motion denied for request of waiving the fee. Now we're on to item agenda number 5.
Can I mention something about that?
Can we get to the application and discussion?
I'm not gonna talk about it.
So this is IWC 24-7, 9 Van Dyke Lane, Thomas Stevens PE is the applicant. Robert Anderson is the owner. It's for activity within 50 feet of inland wetlands or a water course. This is for a new 3-bedroom residence and apartment of structures. Proposed reserve for sanitary septic system and rain garden in the wetlands. Assessor's map 4, block 1, lot B-9 in the zone R80. And you have the language so I can open up public hearing.
Let's get it for you.
I can't find my room anywhere.
To click into the appointment.
I can't find the Zoom.
Here, come on.
If
If you go into, the agenda, if you go in. Go to your.
You should see.
Yeah, we're not doing that anymore because,
This is what happened.
yeah, so if you want to look at the application,
I tried with
you can go into the application, but that's what they want you to do. But if they were not doing this in Zoom.
No, you can actually.
Do you have?
Yeah.
Okay, so if you're in the browser, whatever you use. Okay, but you're in the mail, so you want to go on the mail.
That should be anyway. A couple of days after that.
And then.
You notice one. Plus, moves.
And then you can go down what says, view recent agendas and notes. Yeah, view recent agendas and notes. And then go down to today's date, click on the meeting. You want to go to one. So you want to go back.
you want to, I can run down to the office.
You know, I got every link for all words except whatever that word is. Oh, and I read that. I see this.
And then if you want to go into anything, just click on something and just bring it right in.
Okay, let me read the legal notice of hearing and then we'll have to do, provoke. Public hearing. So the Inland Wetlands Commission will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, February 4th, 2025 in the room of Ladies Stanton Andrews Memorial Town Hall, 54 East Main Street, Connecticut, to consider the following. IWC 24-7, 9 Van Dyke Lane, Thomas Stevens, PE, applicant, Robert Anderson is the owner. Activity within 50 feet of an inland wetlands for a new 3-bedroom residence and appurtenant structures. Proposed reserve for sanitary septic, well, rain gardens. Assessors map 4, block 1, lot B-9 in the zone R80. At said hearing, all persons will have the right to be heard and written communication received. The application and accompanying maps and correspondence are available on the town's website for public consumption, dated this date at Clinton, Connecticut, this 8th day of January 2025. So I need a motion to open the public
I make a
hearing.
motion to
You
open
don't
the public hearing.
You don't need a motion. You need a motion to close it.
Right, yeah,
Got it. Okay.
but you have to put in the secretary, because Mike's not here.
Okay. I need a plain secretary. I need a
What do you need
secretary
to do
tonight.
this for? Has he already read it?
Okay,
Who's
who's doing the,
Thomas. Secretary. Okay. So public hearing is now open. I see we have some audience members. The way that it will work, the public hearing is we'll allow the applicant to make a presentation. We won't really go into any discussion then. We'll open it up to the public if the public has any comment. And then at that point, then the commission will ask any questions. Okay, Mr. Mandel.
Thank you. Chuck Mandel, the applicant. I had mentioned all this last meeting, but I'll do it again in public. 9 Van Dyke Lane, it's a 1.42 acre lot, subdivision lot, it was approved in 1965, and it's filed map number 761. The original wetland approval was dated February 24th, 2000. On 11/4/2004, it was approved by the commission for an extension and a transfer to the Anderson brothers. Along with the original approval was a review by the town engineer Jacobson, dated 2/1/2000, and that was also part of the record. Major comment from Jacobson Associates was to ensure the silt fence is installed, and yeah, that was it pretty much. I also have an exhibit clarifying the proposed 80-foot wide mitigation enhancement plan that was done by Rich Snarsky, which is also approved. And it details the methodology for restoring and planting to achieve this goal. The conservation easement area from the approved plans has been codified in volume 374, page 561, and it's a declaration of perpetual conservation easement, and that runs with the land. That's in effect today. It spells out all the restrictions and spells out the limitations on the property. And that's all it's needed. Based on the commission's comments from last time, there were a couple of things. One was they had requested that the wetlands be reflagged and checked by soil scientists and have the mitigation plan checked. So we hired Bob Russo, a certified soil scientist and erosion control specialist. And I'll just read the letter. It's also part of the record. I just read it in. And this is dated January 23rd. There were some issues. The wetlands enforcement officer had mentioned to me that all data, all information had to be before January to be valid in this meeting. The problem is that was number one, it was on a Friday. It was very soon thereafter. Martin Luther King's birthday was on the 20th. We couldn't submit then. We never got the engineer's report. We never got any staff reports until after that date. Subsequently, we do have it, and we've reacted to most of it. I do have the letter from CLA. I'm just going to read it. It's very short. CLA has investigated the reference site for inland wetlands and watercourses. specifically to determine the accuracy of the inland wetland boundaries shown on the plan, inland wetland regular activity plan, 9 Van Dyke Lane, Clinton, Connecticut, scale 1:20, prepared by Thomas Stevens. This letter documents the wetland boundary investigation. On January 22nd, 2025, CLA investigated in the presence of Stevens and Associates and Anderson Septic and took soil samples at several locations on either side of the wetland boundary indicated on the reference plan. Due to the presence of frost, the jackhammer was used in several locations to break the frost and gain access to the subsoil. CLA concludes that the wetland boundary shown on the plan is an accurate depiction of the current edge of the inland wetlands. CLA has also reviewed the wetland management and planting plan previously prepared by Richard Snarsky and finds that it is still appropriate for this site. A copy of that document is attached, and that's all part of the record. So, a couple of things based on comments of the commission and town staff and other people. We modified and the attorney, Mark Brown's. So we did modify the plan. This is something I'll pass out a couple of share. I'll explain it once I can share. So as you can see, what I did was I superimposed the original application and the original approved plan on top of the new plan. So if you look at the bottom of the page, it says previously approved silt fence. So that's that, this orange line that runs through. So the limits of disturbance are actually quite a bit more than what we're proposing. That big orange orange box, it says that was the approved reserve septic system, which was completely in the wetland area. You can see a little box and it says, and it's small type, it says previously approved septic area. You see 2 lines. That was completely in the wetlands, and that was the approved plan that the Wetlands Commission approves. The blue is, and actually, if you go to the top of the page, you can see the proposed house. It's overshadowed by the blue, which is our current driveway. The previously approved house was 1,250 square feet with the driveway. So that was partially in the wetlands and partially not. That was happening. The blue is what we're proposing now. So the blue is the proposed house and the proposed driveway. We actually eliminated the garage, which was a point of contention for everyone. Because it wasn't Bob, it has a house coming, he ordered a kit, it's gonna be due, it's coming in April, and he's gonna have a house with he won't be able to put anything on it, so he put it in a bond. Not that that has anything to do with commission approval, anything else, I'm just letting you know that way he decided to just give up the garage, he wasn't willing to fight that one. So, if you look at the top right, and it says inland wetland notes, the total site area is 61,665 square feet. And you can look at the proposed and what was previously approved. So total wetlands disturbed, what we're proposing is 8,278 square feet. Total wetlands disturbed on the previous application was 12,498 square feet. The upland review, we're reducing the upland review disturbance, and we're also, total disturbance is about 4,000 square feet less, total disturbance on the site. So what we're doing is this is less. We're doing less disturbance to the wetlands, and the septic system is totally code compliant in Pratt, and it's completely out of the wetlands. No, we have Pratt approval. The house is going to be on a crawl space. It's going to have flood vents. It's in a flood zone. On the plan, also, if I have it on the plan here. Open those up, it's the full scale. And this is the plan that we're going to be, that we're proposing. Yeah. The garage was eliminated.
Did you have to eliminate the garage?
We didn't have to, but, if I said, if you have any hope getting this approved before April, get rid of the garage. So if he wants to come back later, he can, but he can't afford to do that. So, and based on the report from, the town, some of the reports were that the garage was a big bone in contention, it was completely in the wetlands, so we just eliminated it, so there's less.
Was it all in one?
Yes, completely in the wetlands, yes.
Okay.
So according to the attorney that we hired, Mark Brands, and I'm not an attorney, I'm just loosely quoting him, since the commission, even though the commission changes people, staff members, unless there's substantial change in the regulations of wetlands, a previously approved plan, as long as it's same or less, the commission, is hard pressed to deny an application even though it's less. I'm not telling you, I'm just telling you that was what.
I got a question for you.
Yes.
Very important. The waterway that runs down. People have been dumping. So, I got 2 points. Are you still gonna put a buffer all the way down?
Yes. That
How high is the buffer?
No, it's an 8-foot planted buffer. It's gonna be plants. It's not a physical barrier.
Okay.
We won't be putting a physical barrier. And I do have a letter.
And that'll protect that waterway.
Yes, well, there's a conservation easement, so it's, but, and this time there'll be someone living there. I do have, and someone will be able to protect it. I do have a letter from Mr. Anderson. And I'm just going to, I'm not gonna read the whole thing, I'm not gonna waste everyone's time. Let's see here. The clearing, okay, so the burning of the brush was one. Okay, the property has been somewhat of a dumping ground for the neighborhood. And there's been a lot of debris on the site that was unnoticed until the heavy underbrush and bittersweet was cleared. We removed trash bags, plastic cans, household garbage, picked up tires, small construction debris in the area that I was working. There was never any combustible material or contaminants. Some of the debris, construction-like and or garbage were on the site prior to any disturbance, and some of this spilled over by the previous owners of 7 Van Dyke Lane. So this was a dumping ground.
That's what I want to address. Our wetlands, she does a good job, but, I don't think she understood what went on down there. When the piles that are there are the piles that I denied, because I'm the burning official for deep, not the town, deep. So, when I made him take all that stuff out, and he used, a gravel. And then I read in the report that he was burning metal. That's completely untrue. What he burned was all wood. All the other stuff, I made him put it in piles. And I told him, do not burn, and I'm coming down to look, and I can't. I took pictures, I have my phone, of the original piles that I made him stockpile. And then, so the burn that he did was authorized by me, and that's my job, to authorize and not authorize. So, but the gravel did pick up a couple of pieces of metal, and that's how he, there was a lot of debris on it. But the piles that are there now, I don't know if anybody's been down with, the piles that are there now, he's in Florida, because I said, Bob, you said he's not here, and he was in Florida, and, they said, I gave you the burn permits with the understanding that you were gonna remove the rest of that stuff that's on that property. So, you know when you're gonna do that?
I'm sorry,
You know when he's gonna remove that?
as soon as he gets a permit to do anything.
Well, that's, can that be removed?
I'll wait till it's my turn to speak, because I have a lot of questions and comments as well. So I'll
All
make
right,
sure.
I just wanted to go over the burning.
So when we went down there was evidence that there was burned material in the firing area that was not supposed to be burned.
Right, because he used a grapple, I just wanted to reiterate that, he
Yeah.
used a grapple, he didn't do that by hand, stuff, some of that stuff. You can still do it, but the rest of the stuff, I made him stockpile.
Okay.
Because I said, this cannot be burnt, it's gonna be in a dumpster. And be moved from the prop, and then he went to Florida. Am I right?
Yes.
He's still down there?
Yes, he's still there.
I said, okay, so that's, I just wanted to clarify it. He wasn't out burning breakfast, he filtered through it, but every once in a while, you know, I operate. You pick up something and you don't like it. That's all I got to say. I want that for the record, clear.
I got a question. Could you explain how these numbers were derived? Because if you're looking at previously approved, which is the orange, you have like 2632 square feet for the reserve septic, plus this little here, plus a little bit of
We
here.
just looked at the whole area, so we
This
just
is a
took
total site.
total site.
Okay, do you have a calculation of just in the wetlands so that we could do
Yeah.
an apples to apples of what the original site was proposing to impact the wetlands versus what you are now?
So if you look at proposed total wetlands disturbed, is that, proposed is the 8,278. And then total wetlands disturbed for the previously approved was 12,498.
I guess I'm just not understanding how you get 1,200 or 12,000 with 2,600.
So, what we did was you take, you take this line, so here's the wetlands.
Yep.
So you just draw a figure all the way around here, and then just so this entire area.
You're taking earth disturbance.
You got everything, total disturbed within the wetlands.
What about with permanent disturbance? So if you took an average of their house footprint
Yeah, so right here,
plus
at the bottom,
their
there's total
septic,
permanent wetland disturbance, the last line. So it's the proposed is 3,177. Total wetland is.
3,300.
Is yes, that's what we try to
And
match.
and you're counting the gravel driveway
Yeah,
as permanent?
yeah.
Okay.
Which is gonna. All gravel, all rock.
Yes, it's gonna be stuff.
Okay, so you're disturbing 100 and change less.
That's correct.
Okay.
That was our goal.
And that's because you're now moving the septic, which used to be way down.
And we
Completely out.
eliminated the garage, and we tightened up the silt.
Okay. I guess, follow-up question, why did the applicant try to stick to the original site plan that was approved? You know, obviously he's sticking it further into the wetlands. Yes, you're moving the septic out.
Right, so we moved the septic, we took out of the wetlands completely. Because that's not.
Which you shouldn't have been.
It should have been there, I don't know how it got, but that was on the original plan.
Anyways.
So now it's a code compliant septic system. Due to the length of it, there's something called MLSS, which is the minimum leaching system spread, and that's based on groundwater slope bedroom count. So the length of the system pushed the house further back, so you have to be at least 10 feet away from the septic system. So that's what pushed the house further into the wetlands.
Okay.
We could not have the house, and the septic wouldn't work back behind the house either.
Okay. And the other one I got is, can you explain what the original permit's intent was for that restoration?
Right, so we're-
Because I couldn't find like where in our files that was.
Yeah, so that was a letter from Snarsky, that was that 80-foot buffer, and he described what the plantings were. So there's so along the river, there's gonna be, it's 80 foot in parallel, that's gonna follow the contour of the river, and it's just gonna be heavily planted.
What are you gonna use for trees?
It's on the planting plan, I can read what Rich Snarsky did mention on there, and that was also reviewed by the soil scientist. So, let's see, he's silky dogwood, red osier dogwood, winterberry, high bush blueberry. That's the plants that he was proposing. The following species will be planted in a conservation easement once the multi-floor rows with special alder is removed. Yeah. So the plantings are actually on the back of this, and that was looked at by, recently by the soil scientist.
Yeah.
CLA, and he agreed.
Who's CLA?
It's, Cummings and Lafayette. They're out of Norwich,
Okay,
but Bob Russo has done a lot of work.
okay,
on this. I believe Kathy knows Bob Russo. She's very familiar.
okay.
Okay, and then, sorry, I have a question. So your engineering review, there was one done by Clef Harbor and then also by Michelle Ford.
Yes.
Michelle Ford had a number of comments.
She's an environmental, she's not.
Okay.
She's a certified soil scientist.
Yeah,
and
but
she's,
she's not in.
So she, in comment 4, she was trying to do the same calculation that you did, where she's looking at the original permit from 2000 versus your proposed.
The original.
Yes, and she's coming out with different numbers. I guess
I don't know what her methodology was.
so she gave this little, I'm sure you have it, but she gave this. That doesn't match this.
I know.
This is,
What is that?
I don't know, it looks like her attempt at doing an overlay, but the areas don't seem to line up.
I'm not really sure. And that doesn't,
Because the green is supposed to be like existing, but that doesn't match
no,
that. and that doesn't match
no, it
the
doesn't show
plan.
the houses up here, it doesn't show the set. I'm not really sure.
Right.
I looked at that myself and I wasn't quite sure.
I mean, my big concern was you're impacting wetlands more than what we were doing. I mean, I don't,
We were.
with the garage,
Correct.
and now that's removed, and now it's less.
Right, there's no driveway, we got rid of that big driveway to the garage, we shrunk everything down substantially. That's a, he has a house coming in April, so.
Is the garage going with?
No.
Okay.
Well, that would need to be permitted
No,
separately.
just saying, I'm looking at the garage.
Okay, any other questions?
No, I just,
Yeah, oh, yeah, go ahead.
So a couple of things, I spoke to Mr. Mandel yesterday, the gravity of the comments from the engineer and the certified soil scientist, and he told me he was gonna contemplate either withdrawal or continue. So this is all a surprise to me, I did
Well,
not know
it's
this
kind
was coming.
I-
So I have not had time to review it, I
No,
came into
that's-
the meeting, this is the first I've heard of it. To his point about, the timing, that's a regulation issue, the reason why everything had to be submitted, it's 15 days before the date of the public hearing, so that's regulatory, statutory driven, so it's not something we impose. The second thing is the reason why he didn't get comments back was he had to submit those things, and then our consultant staff had to review it. So it took them time to look it over as well, so that's why the timing was short, it had nothing to do with us being difficult or anything else. As far as the new plan goes, I was not prepared, tonight to give you a draft of, approval, because, there's a lot that was missing in this plan that was submitted. There were a lot of inaccuracies that were found by our consultant. There was also some open violations. We had a Google of, imagery that we got from Google of, it was all, trees and shrubs. It's all been removed. There were no permits for that. Filling, things like that. So I would say that we as staff are not prepared tonight to approve this. I would ask that you would consider having me bring this back to the consultant staff to have them review it and make sure that, everything's been addressed in these reports. And then I can come back with a draft motion for you.
And I don't have, Kathy, I apologize, I really didn't expect the questions and I had the information. So-
Yeah,
And it was brand new, and I didn't expect a vote tonight.
Yeah,
I
so,
appreciate it,
I
but
just-
what I didn't expect.
yeah, given
Yeah.
the complexity of this, and one of the big concerns everybody has compensatory storage. And one thing that our town engineer said is even though wetlands falls under the Wetlands Commission, flood falls under the Planning and Zoning Commission, because it's all wetlands and flood, it's gonna impact. So he said if there were any changes made to the plan, they'd have to come back to inland wetlands anyway if they were doing compensatory storage change, because
So we do have compensatory storage on there. in addition to,
So I just want to.
yeah, so there's a lot of changes. And I apologize to Kathy, but I wanted to get that, at least I was gonna submit this.
Yeah.
And it was just, everything was so fast and we just got that. So now that everyone's aware of it, and I fully expect to have this continued, not with the conditions that you had on there, just a regular continuance, and that's it, without, and cross out those conditions that you had on there. You had like 4 or 5 different items on there.
They were based on reports from the town.
Right, so those are not that. I would appreciate a continuance.
I would want to continue and pending their review. To make sure that, you know, they have a chance to review it as well.
So part of my question, so I know that comments came in late. These are dated January 3rd. Have you been able to respond to any of these, like in writing?
Well, yeah, well, no, I have not had them in writing. Some of the comments, like, we don't have the soil types on the plan that she commented, they're on there. I mean, they've been on there, maybe she missed it. So there's certain things that she missed on there. The other thing is she wants a complete review of the, she didn't think it was appropriate to have the plantings that Rich Snarsky had. So, and we had a soil scientist say they were appropriate, so I don't know.
You gotta believe one.
So I'm gonna go with, so Rich Snarsky and our soil scientists both agreed with each other. If Michelle's not happy with it, we're not gonna go back.
Which Starsky's, well, to respect them, I regard it.
Right, no, Rich is good, and so is, Bob Russo.
Yes.
They're peers, they do a lot of work together.
So I assume you need time then to at least provide a response to these comments so that we can, unless you're prepared to go.
No, so,
Item by
no,
item,
no,
okay.
I wasn't. I did want to hear from the public to see what their comments were, and if we can address
See if
them.
anybody from the public wants to speak.
Yeah, we can do that. So by,
Nobody online.
so if we were to continue by our next meeting,
Yes.
would we get a response document from you?
So.
Talking to each of these comments so that we can see what the responses are
Yes.
to engineer
Yes.
review.
But another one, if we want, I went, we can just move up.
If you want to go
Can you
through,
go through these?
I mean, it's a,
I would prefer it.
5-page
So that we
comment
have
letter.
it for, and then I can submit it to the consultants that we use
Well,
too,
we
because they're
gotta-
gonna need that
we-
information
the-
for review.
Well, he's saying that, I'm just trying to be fair, if he's got items that we can get answered. And we have documentation, and we have all the members here, so we hear everything out, we hear it from the public. It's a whole nother month, so I'm just saying. If we go item by item, you gotta, can you go item by item?
I can't, when we're in the same position.
He said, the chairman said, if you go item by item.
well, I mean, it would be nice that if we'd have written documentation in our records rather than a verbal.
But I also need to provide, I want to provide our consultants an opportunity to review. the
What
revised
concerns
plans.
that? I'm just saying.
Our town engineer, who already has reviewed once, but they.
He already
needs to
paid,
review it
like,
again.
money, he paid $2,500 for it.
First of all, he paid that money, but it wasn't all used, and what isn't used will be refunded.
Okay.
So he still has a lot of money left in that account to have.
So what questions do you really have?
Well, part of it is, Michelle Ford is a consultant to us for wetlands. This was a very complex application. There were a lot of concerns that she had. As I said, there were a lot of inaccuracies and things she found missing in section 7, which is the section for public hearing requirements. So I think the best way to handle this would be to have them review the plan, and I'm not prepared to give you a motion for approval with any conditions because I just received this. So I haven't had a chance to review everything either.
Yeah, I believe it would be premature to approve an application, even if we're headed that way, without correct documentation of response to engineer comments, plus allowing our land use office to draft a motion of approval for us.
I just don't like saying the things that I heard tonight, that two soil scientists. They don't like, they agree on the plantings, It's extraordinary.
Well, and exactly, and I
And
wish
then
we,
what's this, and then she's not an engineer. I don't like some of the things.
But she doesn't say she's an engineer, and she's.
She's never said that, but
that's what's I would, I would like a document that just
Right, I-
responds so that we as a commission can make our own decision.
I'd like to make a own decision.
But some of the, so, I'm sorry. So I hear your regulations right here. And some of the comments from Michelle Ford, were, so she wants a biological evaluation of the wetlands and water courses pertinent to the proposed activity. She wants the dominant botanical species, the rare species, and forest age classes of flora. She wants the habitat value of the affected property for all wildlife species. She wants the depth of water table below the surface and level of water, if inundated, which is not, the effect of the proposed activity or use upon a water course within or partly within the affected property, including. She wants the pH level or the alkalinity acidity level. She wants the turbidity or solids in parts per million. She wants the bacteria count on coliforms per millimeter. She wants the flow, if any, in cubic feet per second, and an estimate of the changes in items 1 through 4 resulting from the proposed usage. I mean,
She's
so
an
those,
environmentalist.
so these,
Well, that's
so,
also
Those
what
are
our
regulations.
regulations.
if I can finish.
Right.
That's part of the regulations, and
Right.
I can ask for a waiver for
Right.
some of this, because you can certainly waive some
She
of
is,
this. So I would have to go item by item and say, look, do you really want the turbidity or solids in parts per million? I mean, we could get it, but you know, you wanna spend another $5,000 for us to evaluate that? I mean, I'm saying, we could do it if you're not gonna waive it, but then I have to ask for a waiver, then you're gonna have to evaluate it again, you know? So she took the regulations and said, here, this is your regulations, you have to do this. But I don't believe that's true. I think the commission can use some reasonable.
And we can.
Right, exactly. So, I mean, for Kathy to say, we didn't do anything on the, you know, there's so many, things that we're missing on here. Yeah, we are. We don't have the bacteria count on coliforms per millimeter. We don't have.
But those are part of our regulations for significant activity. If something's considered a significant activity, these are the expected requirements. So it's not that we're asking for something outrageous, this is what's in your regulations.
I
This is
get
what a
it, but I can
significant
also ask
activity
waivers.
happens. Right, but if you didn't ask for waiver, that's the expectation of a significant activity application. It's right in section 7.
Right, now, here's the regulations right here. I just made a copy. I figured this was gonna come up.
So,
Okay, so I guess questions, or if there's no questions to ask, we can open it to the public. So is there anyone?
I did this.
Okay, all right.
You were asking about where the water was gonna be electric, the temporary storage
Mhm.
and the storage. I'm just not clear where it is on.
So the original storage, we had rain gardens. One was for the garage, which we eliminated. And the other one is back here. You see this? So you see this? That's the rain. That's where the rain gardens. And that gets to first flush.
Okay, so now, we'll take comment from the public, if anyone would like to speak on the application. So,
It would appear that I'm the only neighbor here. My name is Nick Kiter. I'm the southernmost neighbor. I just want to go back just a few minutes about, there was mention of some soil, let's say, of debris that was in the property. And just as a history, number 7, and I was vacant for about 5 years. And prior to that, though, the original owner made the Anderson property a dumping ground only because it wasn't used, it was just there, and they kind of expanded all their debris on it. When 7 was considered for rebuilding and it was totally rebuilt, Anderson did take and push much of that debris back onto the property of 7. And so along with that, there were motor hoods, there were some pieces of metal put in there. So I could understand how some of that debris could get into that pile that Bob was burning. Again, I don't have any issues with Bob building back there. We have been there for 20 years and we've been the caretakers kind of for that property. When branches and trees fell, that was kind of our retreat. We would walk the property and so it was my wife and I would be the caretakers. But
thank you.
Excuse me?
I said, thank you for
Oh,
doing that.
you're welcome. But again, it's just something that, the only question that I actually had about the property was how about the septic system? Because we do have annual flooding or when we have extreme rains. And, I've now gone through that, the septic and the drain and leach field. Have no questions or concerns about that. And again, I'm an engineer as well, but some of the things, and looking at parts per million of, bacterial content. I question whether there's really a lot of merit to it. I understand that it's a regulation and it's a requirement, but, there's probably some understanding as well that, some of these things. I don't know what Bob's gonna do on the river front. That area is subject to some erosion, during the flooding periods. There's certainly, trees growing there now, everything seems to be quite healthy, so. Whatever he chooses to do, Bob actually has camped there. There's a little bit of a fire pit in there, and on weekends, he sometimes comes and shares a few hot dogs there. But, again, I don't see that there's anything that's, I personally, as a neighbor, would be upset with. So,
You're right next to him?
yes, on the adjacent
And
property,
you have no qualms at all about it?
no, it's his property. We've been lucky to have 20 years worth of just walking on it. And it's just been one of those things that I've cut a lot of grass there, and it's just something that, won't be a responsibility for me anymore.
My personal thing was protecting that waterway,
That waterway, there was originally at the very end of the cul-de-sac, a path. And Bob allowed that to grow close. But we did have a number of people that were fisher people that would come over there and,
That was one of them.
okay. And it was something that, and I would talk to them on occasion and say, as long as you don't leave any of your cigarette butts or, fishing tackle, it's free to use. Just leave it as clean as you found it. And so, or
Cleaner.
and that's all my concern was, is that, and again, we did have really no instances where people excessively dumped on the area, did anything that was.
Should we get his name for we could show his name?
My name is Eddie Kiter, and it shows on the plan view there. The neighbor there. And again, getting back to that, it's a drain area for the cul-de-sac. And when they did put in storm drains, they ran it up to that point, and it just is a kind of a trench.
Yeah, so,
Goes right down to the river. So,
because we walked that property after a tremendous rain. It was virtually dry. But out in the street, when you talk about that culvert, I saw the indentation
yes.
and the water collects there.
One of the things the town did though is they did pave that area about 5 years ago.
Right.
And before then, much of that had kind of washed down into that area. And so that the paving really kind of corralled all of that overflow. And,
So it's nothing to do with his property.
nothing, no. Well, it's actually, isn't there a right of way on his property? Because,
Yeah, actually, if you extend the street, you go straight, it's
Right.
like 25 foot right to the river.
right, and so
Yes.
Frank Coyle is the neighbor on the other side.
Yep.
And so I think his property line ends. And so
Exactly. It's
all
town-
of
it's
that
town
property, is really Anderson property. And I think that's just gonna be left there for a while like it has been.
I just can't believe that it's approved as separate in the wetlands. That's the Wild West. What it was about.
More
I have to
regulation.
say, that would be a concern.
That may concern everybody.
For the number of
Wouldn't be allowed.
years, see how much water I come here. There are, just anecdotally, there's a picnic table across the river, and the Boy Scouts had built that. And the top of that picnic table floated from the height of the water when we do have extreme rains.
Yeah, I mean, Riverdale,
Yeah.
have all those brand new trailers, they all washed away. It was unbelievable. I think.
I've made my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else from the public wish to speak on the application? Okay. Commission comments, do we have any others for tonight?
Pretty much, very detailed. I'm happy that the garage isn't part of the plan anymore.
Yeah, me too.
That was a big part,
No, yeah, that's.
to be honest with you.
I think we need the wisdom of solving.
And I think Bob would be a good steward for that property.
Well, that's his retirement.
Yeah.
He's not.
There you
Okay. So if no other questions released for tonight, I take a motion to continue us to the
go.
next month's meeting.
Should close the public hearing.
Well, we
Don't
want
close.
not to close, because we want to be able to bring in
Continue.
response to comments from the applicant, so that they're in the record, and then we'd be able to talk about this.
Is Bob gonna be back?
Don't know.
Or will he be back?
No, we just need
Go
It's
ahead,
not-
sure.
just responses to the engineer.
I make the motion that we continue.
Yeah, absolutely.
Chris moved to continue public hearing
Is there a
to
second?
March
Before you
4th.
do that, just a clarification on continuance, because Kathy had specific language which I want to strip in from that continuance. She had a motion to continue, but she had 4 line items on there, and I don't want those on there. I just want the continuance.
So this would be a continuance, and then I guess under the
Right, with more-
expectation that we're gonna get response to comments to engineering.
Yeah, exactly, but she had, Kathy, did I see those motions?
Well, they're not in
We're
our,
not using those words, that they're not in.
they're not
Saying
there.
continue.
It's just a continuance of the public.
That's it, no other verbiage. Okay,
Okay,
just wanted to make that clear.
Okay, Chris made a motion, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any seconds, discussion on motion to continue. Okay, all those in favor say aye. Anyone opposed or abstain? Okay, we'll pick this up now.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Mr. Thank you, sir.
Oh, no, thank you.
A lot of things that were,
My key reading, I remember that. I did that completely.
Here it is.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a great night.
sorry, we can get in it, I closed my agenda.
So the administrator review, that's not, that I can leave, or that. There's one already.
You're good, because we can't talk about the application outside of the public hearing.
Okay.
Okay, on to agenda number 6. I guess we don't need to cover IWC 24-7 since that's continued, so we'll do IWC 25-1, 300 Bridge.
So this, just an update on it, there's been some confusion because I think that this came in as, a complaint, that there was cutting the wetlands and, there was a structure there that hadn't been approved. Previously, the property owner had come in to talk with the town planner and I about, a special exception for, but he hadn't applied for the permit. And then we found out all this work had been done. So technically, it's a violation, but he had said that they wanted to establish themselves as a farm. And the cutting in the wetlands is part of the pasture, which would make it eligible for an as-of-right determination. But, the thing is there's a wetlands piece, there's a special exception piece for the farm. And so in our regulations, there's 2 things that have to be determined by the Connecticut Department of Agriculture. So I called the Connecticut Department of Agriculture, and I asked the gentleman I spoke with to look at our regulations to see if what we requested was even pertinent. I have a feeling some of it may not be, and we may need to change our regulations, but in the meantime, I've asked the applicant to withdraw so we can square all of this away and help him to apply the proper way to get through, but we kind of want to figure out what our regulations are requesting. For example, it requests that we get a report from the Department of Agriculture, and the Department of Agriculture determine how many animals they're allowed to have. I was told by James Allen today that they don't usually do that. They usually only involve themselves in reports when there's a complaint. But if that's part of our special exception requirement, you know what I'm saying? I need to kind of clarify what's going on, because I'm not gonna ask him for something that we can't expect him to supply if he can't get it from the Department of Agriculture. And I remember the concern of the commission last time was, you know, it's almost like the chicken and the egg, because it would come first, but we didn't have a special exception for the farm, so you guys were concerned about granting that without the farm use. So I'm just trying to kind of clear out the.
Okay, so is the application,
He's holding it now, he's
Okay.
withdrawing it, and I told him that I am not going to, ask him to remove any of the animals or anything, no violation at this point, I wanna let him go to the proper channels. So I said to him, I'm gonna send a letter and formalize it, you are not being asked to do those things right now, we're gonna get you to the proper channels once we figure out what the path is. And then he's gonna, his application.
okay, all right, so no action.
No action,
Withdrawn.
yeah, it's just a little convoluted until I can.
Got it, okay. Next up is WEO applications. I saw one
So,
in there.
like I said, for 13, I asked if the commission would take that in under 13 Christina Court so that he didn't have to provide 2 applications. I'm just asking Wetlands to review everything. It saves him a lot of time and money too, and at least it just makes sense. And I think we're sharing, do we have any other additional applications for Wetlands?
You mean for WEO?
Yeah,
WEO?
yeah.
We didn't have any
I didn't think
applications.
so. And I don't have any new enforcement,
Okay. Item agenda number 7, correspondence. Looks like just pesticide.
yeah, just a
Yeah.
notification.
Okay.
Mhm.
And that's because DEEP is required to notify us
Yes.
when they do?
Well, DEEP requires the applicant to notify us.
Well, we don't actually can never do anything. right?
It's not an
It's
action, it's just a
No, it's
notification.
a notification process.
Item agenda number 8, old business. Do we have any old business? New business? Other by commission?
I think everybody who wanted to, let Sherry know if they wanted to attend the, Connecticut Bar Association seminar in March.
We have two of your members have returned their form.
Yeah,
They're going to
said I
go.
wanted to, and they're not back.
I didn't get anything from you.
Responded back. And I wanted to, yeah.
Yeah,
I even said at the meeting I wanted to.
But was it under planning and
First
zoning?
one, and Dylan
Oh, might have been
also
planning and
said-
zoning.
So then Lori might have gotten, it. She's the planning and zoning.
She's playing his own.
No, I responded to somebody and said, we can let me know. And I heard
Oh,
about.
Sherry.
That was Lori,
Connect
because
with Lori.
You didn't respond to me.
Yeah,
I
then
know I responded to somebody.
And
Probably
Dylan
Lori,
also says, okay, I'll do it too.
I'll check in with Lori just to verify that.
Well, that was playing his own. It's
Actual.
It's the same,
Dylan-
yeah.
it's the same, but budget wise,
It covers wetlands, planning and zoning, ZBA, you know, so, it depends on the
I know I
budgets.
responded, because they didn't get my first email, and I
Yeah,
sent it again, and somebody just acknowledged I got it, because,
You were
well, I
blocked.
got it, but we'll let you know. And I
You blocked.
and the only other thing under new business, I'm on the board of directors for the Connecticut Association of Conservation and Wetlands Commissions, it's called TACUIC. And there's legislation right now in the middle of, they're starting a legislative session, there's a lot of stuff coming out to do wetlands. If you ever Google, you can look at some of the rules coming through, but one is they have a mandatory 4 hours of training for planning and zoning and ZBA. They want to institute the same thing for wetlands and also bring more training for, because right now there's just the Connecticut deep, it's a course, I've taken it different ways over the years, but now it's a virtual course and you can take the modules at your pace. But a lot of people, are saying that they don't really feel that that gives them enough. And then they would like something more.
Excuse me, who's monitoring our hours?
So for planning and zoning, Lori, is the clerk.
Cause I think I have like 8 to 10 hours.
So you can, you know what I'll do, I'll email her about, and I'll also email her about. your hours.
Yeah, cause I have a lot of hours.
Yep.
Well, who's in charge of being the steward of?
She, Lori's putting together a spreadsheet because it has
What,
to be
like-
turned into the town, council.
Okay, but, so this, they're gonna require all members across Connecticut to have this training, it's up to the town.
Well,
Track it.
the problem is it is up to the
Enforce it.
town. Right now, there's really not a lot of consequences, but the thought is perhaps it'll affect funding in the future if the commission members don't take it.
Okay.
So right now, it's not like if you don't take it, you're expelled, you know, we don't have consequences like
I
that
thought
in
we had
place.
last year, you had to have.
You do, it is required, but in terms of like,
There's no
we don't really have one. But the thought is that it could become something that might affect future funding, or, you know, maybe if people haven't started and therefore.
We're gonna
vote
adopt our
comes
pay,
through,
Kathy, that's what we're
it could
gonna do.
potentially be appealed if they haven't turned their hours, so there's different things that could potentially
The
be.
conference I went with you was very informational, it was very good.
Yeah, that's
I
happy,
did learn.
yeah. They're great,
But right now, there's no requirements for wetlands commission.
but they're hoping to institute something. They've been asked by a lot, because, so Kakiwik is the conservation and inland commissions for the entire state, so they have a lot of people that are participating in. That's been a lot of feedback, so they want to have something more, so. And then people are saying, heck, the ZBA and planning and zoning have, why doesn't wetlands have the same requirements, so. Just say, look down the road that may be coming.
We do, I mean, we have the CI, is it CI?
The CBA.
Well.
There's so many acronyms for everything, so CBA, that's the Connecticut Bar
No, I'm
Association.
talking about.
Yeah, that's the one.
Trade,
The
trade.
Connecticut DEP?
No,
Or they
no,
don't
we
want?
went, I've been to a couple times. Bert went to, you know, we few stuff.
Well, there
Kakiwik?
was a Kakiwik or pause.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
pause.
Yeah,
That's
That's the
different.
Connecticut Association of Wetland
Yeah,
Scientists.
that's
So
pretty
that's
good.
more influential, not so much for wetlands,
it talks about ground
commissions.
pools, talks
Yeah.
about a lot of
It
stuff.
depends on the topic for that particular conference.
I think it was nice to their towns are talking about cases and
It's a
what
great.
people
group.
come
They
up
work-
against, real life scenarios that we would come up with.
It's a
It's
volunteer
very
group
nice,
and they
yeah.
work really hard.
They can go down, new business.
I want to just go back to the ninth Van Dyke Lane.
You can't talk about that because the public hearing is open.
Yeah, and you can at the next meeting. If you
Yeah.
have a question, you can also email me.
Write it down.
Or I can put it in the record and ask the applicant if there's something they're looking for.
Yeah, if it's a generalized question on like how we can, applications, we can talk about it, but if it's specific to that application, we have to have that discussion.
In the public hearing.
Any other new discussion? Hey, I don't have any.
Well, we have a vacancy, yeah.
Oh, yeah, do we have a vacancy, so Bert, left our commission, by the way, can we get a letter, nice letter?
And he resigned after
Yeah.
how many years, Sherry? He was served for a long time.
I think it's 15 to 20, I'd have to look it
I
up.
don't know, you made me want a lot of Steve Mills, young lady.
Yeah, we are worried.
So do we want to, as a commission, make a recommendation, we typically do, that one of our alternates get promoted? I mean, I know Chris has already expressed interest in it.
This is up for, you want some full seat, I want some full seat.
And we typically usually go, whoever has the most experience as an alternate is next to kind of come up. So do we want to make a recommendation as a board to the town council?
For one.
For Chris as a full seat?
Recommended Chris.
I'll make that motion.
Okay.
Okay, then.
I'll second.
Okay.
On this commission. No, Bob, second.
Recommend, elevating
Chris,
Chris.
full seat
to full seat
to replace Bert.
to replace Fitz.
Who is that second? John Carson?
Goes to town council.
Yeah.
So they're the one that votes on all appointments, reappointments. Although I don't think they listen to our letters any longer, but we still.
I'm gonna say this thing. Well, first,
No, whatever.
Who was the second to that motion? Bob seconded, and you didn't.
So any discussion on recommendation, promotion of alternate? Proceed. All those in favor say aye. Those are abstaining. Motion carries. Before you say anything, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Second.
No, you need to make the motion.
I'm gonna make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, any discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you.
Second, oh, wait a minute. Second was Thomas.
Come on. All right, so I'm gonna say
Hey,
this.
just a minute, please.
And